Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business figure for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
Good morning. Buzzer beater. I was ready, but at the last minute, I realized that I didn't have my headsets in, and man, you busted me putting my headsets in. But anyways, I was ready. Man, in fact, I'm down here studying and putting things together for today's message, and I just got spooked. I got spooked. My wife, who is always, she's up after me, and I'm down here doing my stuff like I normally do. It's dark and the lights are on, and I actually got busted in the Bible by my wife. It's like great, right? It was one of those things that worked out. Well, she kind of snuck up on me. She didn't come through the door over here. She came through the side of the house, and I don't know how she got in here. And she basically said, boo. Okay, she didn't say boo, but she said, hey, you. And I'm like, wait. And I had my headset in, and I was listening and studying, writing some notes. And she goes, I know it's almost time for you to start your show. It's like 7:27 or something. I go, yeah, no worries, honey, no worries. She goes, I really need you to do me a favor. And I said, well, what is it? I'll do you a favor anytime you want me to do you a favor. She said, can you check the bottom of your shoes? I said, what? Why do I need to check the bottom of my shoes? And she said, well, Chloe had a rough night last night, and someone stepped in stuff. You know how important I am? I've got a show to do in literally 60 seconds. And I've got to check for dog poo on my shoe. Okay. Check one. Check two. All right. She says, no goo. I said, all right, let's go. Let's rock and roll. So then I get the headsets on. We're ready to start the show. So good morning, everybody, to all over the planet, all over the world. We've got several nationalities on this show, and the comments are coming in already. Have you ever stepped in dog poop? I mean, let's just be honest with each other. This is not where the show is supposed to start, but I'm going to start with it. If you've ever stepped in dog poo, you know that it's just one of those things that you have to experience in life before you really understand what it is. And the good news is that we're going to talk to you today, this morning. The verse is John 14:26. But the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and remind you of everything I have said to you. We're going to bring up a term called ruha. It's a Hebrew term for spirit, and we're going to talk about ruha. But the idea of stepping in dog poo is completely the opposite of why God brought us the Holy Spirit. See how I transitioned there? See how I moved the story of the moment, the day, into what it was going to be? We're going to do it. I have the Holy Spirit. I do not have dog poo in my shoe. So good morning, everybody. I just don't want you to feel that feeling. I want you to, you have to go through the whole process. I've done it. You got to get a stick, and you got to clean it out of the treads of the shoe. And then I've personally found it's best to take the shoe after you take the goo out of the shoe, and then you get it under hot water somehow. You just you let it run and somehow sanitize it, and then you just forget about it. You just move on. Holy Spirit's a lot better than that, of course, and we're going to talk about that this morning because verse John 14:26 is to release us from the poo of the world, right? To steer us and navigate us from the poo of the world, right? And so I want to talk to you about the Holy Spirit. I want to talk to you about this idea of authenticity. I want to talk to you about the review of what we had over the last 3 days and what we've learned. It's our culture. So I'm kind of wrapping up this whole week of It's Our Culture. It's been a great series. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to take you through the 3 topics that we talked about. It's Our Culture on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday briefly. And then I'm going to talk to you about authenticity. And then I'm actually going to talk to you about why it's so important to be culturally driven, understand your culture, and be authentic, because then we're going to close with my introduction of my friend Sebatian Gorka, who's an amazing man. And we'll talk about him and his authenticity. It's just a beautiful transition from dog poo. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. What I want to talk to you first and foremost is about authenticity, because I don't think that we sometimes I think when I ask myself, what is the Holy Spirit and how does that help me personally, spiritually, and profitably, I got to understand what the Holy Spirit is. And I think sometimes we don't ask the right questions. We don't ask, what is the Holy Spirit? We just assume there's the Holy Spirit. And we've heard about the Holy Spirit and we talk about the Holy Spirit. But I think we need to understand that really the transcending of our culture, what we've talked about this entire week so far this week, is our culture has the Holy Spirit in us. And if our culture has the Holy Spirit in us, then our culture is really driven by God. You know, I'm picking on Wilson all week, but, I think he was having a rhetorical question when he typed it down, but what is my culture? And we defined it really by 1, the breakdown of the word culture, which we're going to go through that briefly. And then 2, by the upside down leadership model of our professional culture, right? And then last but not least, we talked about what culture our culture was not. It was not Babylon. It was not this idea that humanity has sought evil in place of God, right? That is Babylon, right? And so those are the 3 things we're going to review quickly. But I want to lead with authenticity, because authenticity in the Holy Spirit, and actually we'll find that the word love are all the same game. At least that's my position on this. Authenticity. So what is authenticity? I had it in here, but it didn't load, it looks like. So let's see here. Let's see if I can load it. Let's see how good I am. Okay. Right here. Add overlay. Here it comes. Photo. I love it when you guys hang out with me like this, because we got stuff to do, man. We got lots of stuff to do. And I'll watch this here. Boom. Oh, man. It looks like the reason it's not loaded is listen, hang in there with me. Come on. Give me some props here for wheeling and dealing in the real time. And listen, when I first started this show, the idea of something not working on my processes would have, given me the heebie-jeebies, and I'd have been panicking and everything. But you guys got time. I've got good messages for you. So here it is. Authentic. All right. Authentic. And see, here's the teaching beginning of what we're trying to do, because I'm going to take you through the scale of positive and negative experience. We're going to talk about how important authentic is and how it correlates with the Holy Spirit and the word even love, right? So what is authentic? If God is saying to us in verse John 14:26, but the advocate, the Holy Spirit, that is the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, right, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you. This is Jesus telling the world that the Holy Spirit or the advocate is coming, right? So Jesus is talking about the Holy Spirit, the new world, the new message, the new day, right? And he is authentic. He is literally not false. He is not copied. He is genuine. He is real, right? He is of having an origin supported by unquestionable evidence. You see what I'm doing here? I'm pulling authentic into the Holy Spirit because I'm going to challenge you at the end of the day to be authentic like our guest is going to be tomorrow, right? Authentic doesn't mean that you're always liked by everybody, right? It's this idea that you are not false, that you are not a copy. You are genuine, you are real, have origin supported by unquestionable evidence of authenticated or verified. Look at this. Look at this. I'm going to show you something right now. Authentic, right? Authentic. So I just bought a new truck. It's called the Ford Shelby. They only made 100 of them. 800 horsepower. You guys follow the show. You know I bought this truck. And so I just got in the mail, ironically enough, the vehicle authenticity certificate. This is to certify this Shelby vehicle has been verified and documented by an official registrar for Shelby America Inc. Entry has been verified in that official Shelby America registry. Todd Saylor, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Todd Saylor, Shelby F-150 VIN, blah, 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 CSM, blah, 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 is official, authentic. How's that for some TV and improv and some real teaching, right? So authentic, right? Not false or copied. That is what Jesus is, and that's what he's proposing here when he's reading this to us. But the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I said to you. So you say, Todd, how do you always bring in God? And how do you always bring in personal growth? And how do you always bring in So what does this have to do with me making money? It has everything to do with you making money. It has everything to do with you being personally authentic and spiritually authentic. Our Father, our God was authentic. Leadership 101. Let's talk about that. Our culture. What is our culture? This is all coming together now. Looking, remember day one was the culture, and I broke down C was for the 3 customers. You're a customer, your employee partner is a customer, and the customer is a customer, right? They're all 3 equal customers. You have to serve them all, right? 2, that our culture is that we understand the other side. We understand other people. We empathize and we look at other people. We understand them. Then we seek to learn. Our culture seeks to learn about them and other things. Then once we gather all that, then we teach. We must show people the path. We must teach. We must also, in you, we made a joke about you, and you stands for excellence, right? Well, your excellence. We have to be good at what we do. We have to be authentically good. Our culture demands that of us. And then R is for repair. We need to fix things, right? Right? We need to fix things. We need to go into the world. We need to solve problems. We need to show them the light. We need to show our customers. We need to fix it, repair it. And last but not least, we must excel. We must strive to excel. So that was day one. We talked about all those things. That was our culture in our personal growth and how we were to look at that. And then day 2, we looked at pay, serve, and the business side of things. The upside down leadership was pay is how I'm paying people all over the country with my payroll company called Pay Serve, Payserv, no E. And I didn't put an E on there because I wanted it to be special. I wanted it to be distinct. I wanted it to be unique. I wanted it to be authentic. And that was a cryptic word because I put it together in one word, but the word serve stands out when you say it, pay, serve, and that is exactly how Christ led the church. So I wanted people to know that I paid people for the organizational ID, but I also wanted everyone in my company to know that when I talk to them about them, the way I'm going to serve the world is like Christ served, and he led his leadership model was to serve. So I'm going to lead through service, and that is the upside down hierarchy, where the customers are at the top, not the CEO. The CEO is at the bottom. I'm at the bottom. The customer is at the top. Management goes and descends in the same order. That was day 2. And then day 3, we talked about, well, what if we understand if we're trying to understand what our culture is, then let's talk about what our culture is not. And then we dove into the Bible and we talked about in a spiritual, personal, and profitable level that we are not going to be like Babylon. What is Babylon? It's humanity's tasks to look, it's humanity's place, it's humanity's efforts to be evil versus God, to replace evil with God. That is Babylon. That is the metaphor of Babylon. That is what the Israelites and the whole Jewish nation had to fight through years and years of time, where God's Holy Spirit or God's Spirit has descended on them. Ruach is what it was called. Had descended on them, and Ruach in the Old Testament before Christ, right? It was here, but then the Jewish people left. They drifted, right? They drifted. They wanted to be like Babylon with the sin and the fun and the sex and the alcohol and the drugs and whatever they had back then that was against God, that was seemingly more fun. They drifted and they drifted again. But you couldn't escape Ruach. So let me just tell you what Ruach is, because I learned the term this morning, and it's the Hebrew word for wind. It's the Hebrew word for breath. So before Christ came here, the Ruach came to this world, and it was God's breath. It was the wind. It was God working, right? It was God working. I even got the words right here. God working in the air, like oxygen. It's there. It's moving. It's energy, right? Ruach is energy. It's the Hebrew word for energy, wind, air. And God influenced early earth through Ruach in his spirit, right? The first, I think, detected Ruach experience with Joseph when he taught Joseph how to read people's dreams. Ruach was real. It was part of this earth. It was part of God's plan. But it isn't really termed the Holy Spirit yet, because the Holy Spirit hasn't come. Ruach was God speaking to all the earth and making things happen in the Old Testament. But we need to know that Christ was coming. And what happened, let me explain to you the Holy Spirit, which is a good thing. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Christ is all in one, right? Because it came in parts and then he pulled them all together. There was the God, and then the Spirit, and then the Son came. And until he came, he didn't come. All those three couldn't be united. And so when Christ came, he came to fix and do the best he could. He didn't come really in peace, but he came to actually unite God's people over time so that there would be peace and the kingdom would be united and we would have this heaven on earth again. Because remember, we studied the fact that heaven and earth were one, and then it was split up when Adam and Eve did their deed, right? And so heaven went back to heaven and earth stayed in earth, and now they're separate. And now we're bringing heaven back to earth. Remember Matthew 6:10, we talked about that. Strong stuff, man. But from beginning of time, Ruach was here. Ruach, you got to say it like that because that's the way they say Ruach. So it's here. But it's not really the authentic Holy Spirit that the Bible was saying was going to come, the precursor, right? That was Melchizedek was bringing, the forerunner to Jesus. He was talking about the day will come, the message will come, the Holy Spirit will come. It's going to 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 come at a different level because Ruach is the wind. It's God's breath. It's this idea of what he's transitioning. But he really can't have this Holy Spirit upon us until Christ comes. So I want to go back to authenticity real quick. I want you to understand that there is a scale of positive and negative experience called span. And the reason I want to use the word authentic, because it's going to describe our guest for tomorrow in the best way possible. It's going to describe the Holy Spirit, as I'm going to close with you today, in the best way possible. It's going to describe you in the best way possible, not only for personal, spiritual, and profitable growth. I need you to be authentic. The Holy Spirit, I'm building up to the coming of Jesus, the uniting of all three, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All this build up, this amazing prologue that God has put together for us in his beautiful writings from the Old Testament to the New Testament. It's coming. Right? It's authentic. It's real. It's a one of a kind. It's been designed that way. And I want you to emulate that in your leadership style. I want you to find your market dominating position. I want you to find that niche. I want you to be original. I want you to be, more importantly, authentic. And here is the business side of the word authentic. Here is the nugget for you today that they're probably going to put on my highlight reel. It's going to be running around. So use this one right here, because authenticity is real. Authenticity is arguably measured as the most powerful emotion received in the planet. Yeah, all I'm trying to say is that the span, the scale of positive and negative experience, which is a test, and we're going to be talking about this at the Tiki at Reti, it is a test, is a study that registers an individual's positive or negative experience score to something. And what they've found over time, that the authenticity of something actually registers 4,000 times more powerful to a viewer or a recipient than even love. Now, I got an answer. Because God would tell you that love is the most powerful. Love, John wrote, book of John is all about love. And I would agree, love is the most powerful emotion, feeling thing created by God. But when we talk about us as earthlings, right? And if we want to believe what Spain is talking about, the emotional charge and what to register, and from a marketing perspective and a promulgation perspective, we can't deny the facts that it's probably true that here on earth, in some regards, that the emotion of authenticity is even greater than the emotion of love. So let me explain it. 4,000 times greater is the feeling or emotion of authenticity to somebody than even love. And let me explain this to you. So the parallel here is if you look at it that way, you look at the authenticity of the Holy Spirit, which is love, right? Follow me. Or the authenticity of Ruach, which is love. All this is in love, right? Authenticity is based and rooted in love. I don't know how you can separate them, but we're going to call them. Love is like swooning, because there's 3 different words for love in the Bible, and we're talking about 3 different types of love. But the love that they're measuring in this authentic chart, or this chart of Spain, is not the exact love God is actually talking about, because that's why there's different types of love. But let's move on. So here's the idea. So if I was a singer, which I am not, Mike Connolly is the greatest singer of all time, the best in the world. I love Mike Connolly. So he sings out at the Tom's Donuts like every Sunday. He's like, I built a stage named it after him. I love him so much. We don't see eye to eye politically. We don't even see eye to eye. I don't know if we do spiritually. But he's like one of my best friends ever. And because we do genuinely, I'll say, man, I love you, man. We do love each other. We want to build each other up. Who calls me the first time something's not feeling right, or you see something on the Facebook? Hey, Todd, how you feeling? Listen, man, I was just thinking about you, man. Sorry about your Lions, man. I can't wait for this summer, man. Don't let this stuff get you down, man. He's just a great guy. I don't know why but he's authentic. So the point of the matter is, of Mike Connolly, not only is he an authentic human being, but I want to talk to you about how he sings, and the idea of measuring the emotion through Spain, of the emotion of authenticity being 4,000 times more powerful than even love, is the mere fact that that's what it is, right? So here's the example. So like if Mike Connolly was on the stage and he was singing songs that he thought you wanted to hear, right? You would have a response because you love that song. But the test shows us that if Mike Connolly alternatively broke away and sang songs that he felt he wanted to sing, that was important for you and others in his authenticity, that the response would be 4,000 times even higher than the song he thought you would love for you. He's singing from his authentic heart, which is love. But I digress. So see the point of Spain. So we're going to be talking about this at the Tiki Hut Retreat, but I want you to understand authenticity is probably the most important thing I can teach you today, because when we talk about our culture is rooted in authenticity. That's why our culture is so powerful. That's why Microsoft and Apple and Amazon and all the bigs, right? They're authentic. They're original in some capacity. They're true. And here, what was the other term that we had? Without, let's go back. Let's just learn. Slow down, Todd. We got time. Not false, having original supported, representing true one natures of beliefs, right? So the Spirit, let's just talk about the Spirit. Let's close and let's get this to, look, we're literally at 5 minutes. Here's the thing. So the verse, John 14:26 says, but the advocate, right? And so let me just add the word authentic. The verse, John 14:26, but the advocate, the authentic, the one and only, the original, the OG, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and remind you of everything I have said to you. The Ruach was here before Christ. Christ descends, born of the Virgin Mary, comes to this earth. But here's the thing I want to share with you. The cool, interesting thing about the Holy Spirit really doesn't enter this world the way God has finally meant it to be, through Christ, and unite the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit till Christ lives here and comes here and he walks the earth. And sometime in the age of 30, he becomes baptized by John the Baptist. And when John the Baptist baptizes Jesus, right, that is when the Holy Spirit entered Jesus, right? And so, because I want you to understand that Jesus never actually performed a miracle before he was baptized, because he wasn't completely filled with the Holy Spirit. He was walking around, learning, training, being Son of God. And then after he was baptized, then what did he do? He went out and performed miracles because he had the Holy Spirit. He had the power. He was the man, right? He was doing it. He was justifying, showing, realizing, being super authentic. Amazingly authentic, one of a kind, without undisputed title, heavyweight champion of the world. We knew he was all about 5'5", 155 pounds. He had a vertical of 72 inches and ran a 4.240, right? But he was authentic in his nature. He was authentic in who he was. And when he grabbed the Holy Spirit, when he was baptized, the first thing he went out and did, the first miracle he provided, was turn water into wine. That's a cool dude, man. Come on now. His mom wanted some wine, so he took the water, turned it into wine. Come on. That's a good son. The backstory on that is he didn't want his first miracle to be something ridiculous like raising the dead or something. I'll just turn this water into wine. Just hang tight here and don't make a big deal out of it. Just like, let me just do this, and then put the wine, and then they say it's so good it should be the first wine. So that's the way, that's the authenticity. So when Christ gets baptized, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach, now really becomes definitely the Holy Spirit, God's wind, his breath. Remember we talked the Ruach being breath. Do me a favor right now before we close. Take a deep breath. Blow out. Blow out. Release. That's the Spirit. That's energy. That was Ruach. Now that Christ came, has been baptized, the Holy Spirit is in Jesus. Literally, God's Spirit is in Jesus. That breath, that feel, that energy. And he's sharing it with the world, right? Remember, bringing heaven on earth. See how it's all coming together? Interestingly enough, Jesus was carrying the Spirit around and sharing it with signs, wonders, and miracles until one day he was captured and sacrificed and he died. We know the story, but then he descended, then he ascended. And when he came back, the disciples, all but I think one, were sitting around and wondering where he is, how it's going to happen. And then he showed himself that I'm here, I'm alive. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's Jesus. That's Jesus. You're awesome. You're back. He says, yes, I'm back for a moment. But listen, I want you to know, I want to breathe on you, right? It talks about this in Luke and I think John, that when he comes back, he breathes on his disciples. And at that point, he passes on the Holy Spirit to these disciples. And then some scholars would say they become apostles now, not just disciples, because they've seen Christ come back and alive, and he's given them the Holy Spirit. And now they are to share the gospel and the Holy Spirit. And anyone that they touch and talk and tell about will receive the Holy Spirit. See, that's the story. Now, that's the most authentic thing I could tell you about anything and anybody. And so when you think about your personal growth, your spiritual growth, and your profitable growth, you need to triangulate these things. You need to be authentic. You need to be spirit-filled, and you need to be loving, right? These are the things. This is what Spain has taught us. This is the emotional understanding of authentic love is 4,000 times stronger than just the emotion love. And that's why he said, but the advocate, the authentic, the one and only ring champion of the world, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and remind you of everything I've said. Now, here's the Holy Spirit on me this morning, reminding me to tell you. An amazing podcast yesterday with Barry, the amazing Barry. He was so awesome. A Jewish man, Barry Shore. Great show. Thank you very much. I'm going to have him on my show. We're going to talk about these things. But here, I just want to give you the promulgation of what's going on here. We talked about the 3 days before. We talked about our personal culture. We talked about the upside down leadership culture. And then we talked about what Babylon was that we aren't going to be. And then we tied it all together with authenticity, with the verses John 14:26. The advocate, the authentic Holy Spirit is here. He's yours, ours. We need to be authentic. And now I want to lead into this situation with my good friend, an ally, probably one of the most authentic men I've ever met in my life. Probably one of the most authentic men I've ever met in my life. You don't have to love him all the time. You don't have to actually listen to him all the time, but you have to understand this man is authentic. This man is given his life to not only theology, but his country in Hungary, his country, Great Britain, and his country, America. Sebatian Gorka, my friend, my growing good friend, I have done 12 events with Sebatian Gorka. I mean, it's the fact that he's going to be on my show is remarkable. The fact that he puts up with me, I don't know. I feel so blessed. And it's not the thing that I'm attracted to him about all of his policies, although I do prescribe to most all of his policies, and I can't think of any right now that I don't. But right here's what I'm saying is that I'm drawn to his authenticness. What you're going to learn tomorrow from Sebatian Gorka isn't American policy, Hungarian policy, Great Britain policy, the fact that he knows probably 3 languages. I know 3 of them that he knows. He probably knows more. You're going to learn all that stuff. He's a very interesting man. He's going to enlighten us, change us, and preach to us, talk to us a little bit about the world and probably Jerusalem and the Palestinian situation, because I really got to know. But at the end of the day, you got to understand and respect that this man is someone to look and learn and look up to, because he is genuine. He is authentic. He doesn't put on airs, and he is going to give it to you 100% right where you need it. And if you don't like it, you can throw it away, and he's moving on. That's why I love him. That's why it's such a privilege to have him on my show, because this entire show built around It's Our Culture lands on a Friday with Sebatian Gorka. It's our culture. He is the definition of our culture in authenticity. It's going to be great. I'm studying. I'm ready. I am the modern day Apollos. I don't have all the answers in Palestine, Jerusalem, and all the stories that are going over there. He's going to have a lot more to talk to us about. He's going to talk about his family. He's going to talk about what it's important to him, why it's important to him, what he's done in his life, his father's story. If we're going to do everything we can, we're going to maybe stretch him past a half hour, you guys. So be ready. Bring your notes. Get your love gear on. Get ready to rock and roll. Let her rip potato chip because it's on like Donkey Kong. Sebastian, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I know you're watching this show. You got this, brother. You're authentic, and I love you for it. Hey, let's all be authentic. Let's walk this world like Jesus. Let's have this Holy Spirit, the wind, the Ruach.